Hello, this is Timo from ProductiveSuperdad.com, and today I'm very excited to be talking with Mr. Chris Ducker of ChrisDucker.com. Now, I gotta tell you that Chris has done a pretty good branding of himself, because every time someone starts to talk about outsourcing, he's the person that comes into my mind right away. Anyway, outsourcing has been a very hot topic for the last couple of years, and we are going to be focusing on one particular area of that thing, virtual assistants. And now that you know the theme for this interview, it's time to get started. Chris, how are you, man?
I'm good. I feel like I'm looking in the mirror.
Yeah, pretty
Only,
much.
only I'm missing the headset, but I'm good. I'm good. There you go. Right. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, of course, of course. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. All right. Well, I was born at a very young age, but we can fast forward a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, I've been based here in the Philippines. I'm fundamentally from a sales and marketing background from all the way back in London and the UK.
Yeah.
And I came out here to the Philippines 12 years ago. I've been involved in the outsourcing industry for 10 of those 12 years. And it's really the last, I mean, I've had my own company for the last 6 years. I have almost 300 employees working for me now, both from a call center and a VA standpoint. And yeah, I mean, really the last kind of 4 years or so online, I've been blogging and podcasting and doing online video and stuff. And it kind of just came about all of a sudden that Chris is the VA guy. So
Yeah.
that's, I guess, why I'm on the show.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I know that you have lots of great experiences to share, and lots of great stuff to tell us. So that's why I wanted to have you on this interview. Anyway, let's dive in. And the first question that I wanted to ask you is, when is the right time for a person to hire a virtual assistant? Is there a right timing, or I mean, if you are just starting out your business, do you think that it's a proper time to hire a virtual assistant right away, or what's your take on this?
It's a great question. And I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to it. In fact, I just replied to an email yesterday from a subscriber of my blog who asked the exact same question.
Oh,
In fact, his setup was, I've just left my full-time job. I've been working my ass off and saving money for the last 2 years so I can go off and do my own thing. And he's actually involved in Facebook marketing and managing Facebook ad campaigns for companies and things like that. And basically he said, like, I'm just about to start out. I've got a handful of clients already. I've got savings. I'm not going to be, stressed for cash or anything like that. I know I can do it. I quit. I'm out my own. This is it, the big time. And I want to know, do I need to hire a virtual assistant now, or should I do it further down the line when I've got a few more clients? Because I don't really sort of just want to be spending the money and then not have anything for them to do. And it's a very, very, that's a very true issue with a lot of first-time entrepreneurs when it comes to sort of hiring VAs and stuff. So, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer here. I always say that, you're going to end up hiring somebody when you start feeling overwhelmed.
yeah,
And I think that's, the big thing there. And as someone who focuses around productivity, obviously, you know what being overwhelmed feels like. You can feel it. You're working too long hours. You're trying to multitask. I don't believe in multitasking. I think it's a complete and utter myth that was created by some idiot that just wanted to look busy all day long. And there's different things like switch tasking. You can go from one task to another, but physically juggling all those balls, I just don't think it works. And so really it comes down to when you're feeling that overwhelm, that you can't continue to do it all on your own, that's when you hire. The flip side of that coin is that you want to get to the point of outsourcing the right things. So, it comes into a couple of categories. Stuff that you just, you hate doing. And it's like you know they need to be done, these tasks, but you just despise doing those kind of tasks.
Yeah.
Outsource those tasks, because if you have a VA do those things, you're going to be a happier person, which means you're going to be more productive, right?
Sure.
That's the first thing. The second thing is the type of tasks that you know you need to do and you probably struggle with because you can't do them yourself. You know, like I know I need web pages built. I know I need logos created. I know I need opt-in forms designed to be able to convert people from visitors to subscriber. I know I need all those things. Now, I could try and do them all myself, and I have done before in the past, but I failed miserably because I'm not a web designer, I'm not a graphic designer, and I'm not a conversion specialist. So I hire the people to do those things for me so that I can focus on what I am good at, and that's putting together solid content and marketing my businesses. And so really that's kind of, you know, the two main aspects really right there, the things you just hate doing, the things you can't do. They are the things that you should be outsourcing. So once you feel like you're at that point of overwhelm, that's when you press that button and you start looking at VAs, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really great advice. And what I have realized also is that I'm building my online business on the side. I have a day job, and I also want to spend time with my family. So having someone to take care of at least some of the tasks that I'm doing right now is a great help, and I can focus on totally different things, much more valuable things when it comes to online business. So in that sense, it's very very difficult and very important, of course. And I think that when I'm looking at myself, I mean, I have been reading and learning about virtual assistants for quite a while, but for me, it was quite a long process after I realized that I truly need some external help, because I just can't do it all. Even if I knew how to do something, but still it's not reasonable for me to do something. So I'm more than happy to hand over those tasks for someone else.
Yeah, and it's just smart. You know, it just shows that you're a smart guy, because it's silly for you to try and do everything on your own.
Yeah, yeah. It seems that we are so emotionally tied to certain types of tasks that we are unwilling to let go of those things, and but the feeling is just completely opposite. Once you let go of that stuff, you feel relieved, and you feel much more energized and all that. So it's a really a positive feeling, in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, let's say that if there's a person and he or she decided that it's time to get started with outsourcing, what are the first steps that that kind of person should take? The first thing.
Well, I think, actually it goes back a little bit to my first reply there to your first question, is that, a great way to be able to do it. Actually, this is a really cool exercise that your listeners, viewers, subscribers, or whatever can put themselves through as well. This is something that I've done with groups of business owners and entrepreneurs where I've spoken live at events or on webinars and things like that. So I'm going to give everybody, if it's okay, a little exercise or a little bit of homework, because I think it'll help. What you need to do is this is what I call creating my 3 lists to freedom. Okay, and basically what it is, you get a piece of paper and you draw 2 lines down it. So you create 3 columns. In the first column there, you write down all the things that, like I was talking about, all those things you do every day, like you just hate, you really hate doing them. The second column is exactly what I was talking about a minute ago, the things that you can't do, that, you might be struggling to be able to do them, and you might be able to get them done, but it just doesn't make any sense for you to do them yourself because you can't do them properly or at the level you really need them to be done at. And then the last column, and this is the big one, this is by far the most important one of all 3, you make a list of all the things that you feel as a business owner you shouldn't be doing on a day-to-day basis. So simple things like accounting or bookkeeping or writing copy for your website or whatever the case may be. If you feel you shouldn't be doing those things as a business owner, that your time is better leveraged doing other things to help market and grow your business, then that's what you should be doing. So those 3 things right there kind of almost act like a bit of a roadmap or a blueprint of sorts for you to then go ahead and take those 3 lists and physically start outsourcing work. And there's 2 ways to really get going. The first one is to work on a project basis with virtual staff. So, you know, you can go to some of those job sites that are out there, and you know, get a logo designed or get a landing page developed, or you know, maybe have some of your podcasts transcribed or something like that. So this is stuff that you can utilize to be able to sort of help market your business online. So just as an example, right? So, you know, that's kind of project-based outsourcing. Then there's the more permanent-based outsourcing, where you're looking to grow your team and find full-time members, or maybe part-time members of staff to begin with, but ultimately full-time members of staff to be able to grow your team. And that's when, you know, you can maybe look at a company like Virtual Staff Finder, for example, which allows you to have that sort of all that legwork done for you in a nutshell, in a nice, cohesive, professional manner, so that you kind of get the jump start on the entire process. But really, I mean, you know, those are the things that you need to do to sort of try and figure out, is this the right time for me to get going now? 9 times out of 10, you'll find that the large majority of your competitors, regardless of what niche you're in now, have probably already started outsourcing in some way, shape, or form. So with that in mind, if you haven't already done it, you better get your ass into gear, because otherwise they're going to be well ahead of you, and you know, you're going to be kind of eating the rubber off the back of their tire, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, that's really one of the easiest ways to be able to get going is to create those 3 lists for freedom.
Awesome. This is really, really great, and I really love that exercise. And you know, although I know at least some sort of the tasks that I want to get rid of, but I definitely want to put all of those tasks into a document. And what I have realized is that doing any of these kinds of exercises actually makes you to see the bigger picture in a way, and you realize that, hey, I have been doing this and that, and I really shouldn't be focusing on this stuff, you know, and I should really get rid of it, you know, as soon as possible. So that's really great, very concrete.
Where you mentioned it yourself, where you said there are a number of tasks that I want to get rid of.
Yeah,
that was terminology. So in your head, subconsciously, you want to get rid of that task. Why? Probably because you don't like doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's your first column. You got 2 more columns to fill up now, Timo.
Yeah. I have some exercises to do after this.
Just a little homework.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, so now we talked about outsourcing and the first steps that a person should take when outsourcing or get started with outsourcing. But do you think that there is an opposite situation, a situation where you would say to a person that you shouldn't be outsourcing at all, or you shouldn't be hiring a virtual assistant?
Right, great question. There are some things that you should not consider outsourcing. There are a lot of things that, in fact, most things can be done by some, like, number one, don't outsource your parenting.
Yeah,
that's probably
I agree.
not a good idea. You want to keep that one a little closer.
I agree.
But on a more serious note, if only we could. Can you imagine if we could outsource parenting? That would solve so many problems. But never mind. Well, that's another interview, a conversation completely.
Yeah.
But no, on a more serious tip, content. That's it. Do not think about outsourcing your content ever.
Yeah.
And when I say content, I mean content that is your IP. Okay, it's your intellectual property. It's what you are all about. So for me, example, if I'm going to be known as the virtual assistant guy, there's no need. It's madness for me to outsource content creation covering that topic. I mean, it's stupid. Yeah. It's insane. It's like Michael Jordan starting a blog and having someone else write about how to shoot a jump shot.
Yeah.
You're Michael Jordan. You can shoot a jump shot. Tell everybody how to do it. You know what I mean? So it's, and that's just an analogy to use, but ultimately your content should come from here. It should come from here, and your viewers, your readers, your listeners, regardless of what kind of media you're producing, they should be able to feel that that's from you and that's your direct involvement with them and the way that you communicate. The only type of content that you should consider outsourcing is the type of content that you find, say, on a niche site or something along those lines where it's not something that you want to be known for example,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, you could write a niche site about how to walk a dog properly or, whatever, how to keep your teeth clean or whatever, that sort of stuff is not what you want to be known for, but you maybe want to make money in that niche. That's fine. Outsource that stuff. That's brain dead work. Outsource that. But in your case, when you're talking about productivity tips and tactics, particularly for busy parents and things like that, that has to come from you.
Sure.
If I'm going to talk about, utilizing VAs or online video or, anything like that, that needs to come from me. So you can literally outsource anything, but don't outsource your content. That has to come from you.
Yeah, yeah. That's really great advice, and I agree that it's ridiculous to outsource your content, because you want to become an authority in whatever you're doing, especially if it's blog related stuff. And of course, if you're building a niche site, then it's maybe a little bit different story. But other than that, you want to show your own voice and build your authority, and only you can do it, not someone else. So you just have to do the legwork. So now, something that I'm very interested in, and I know that there have been these big companies even big companies have been struggling with this issue. But what do you think about? I mean, when I'm hiring a virtual assistant, how much I should learn about his or her cultural background? What's your advice?
I think, depending on where you're outsourcing to, that topic will be more important than others, particularly also the type of thing. Website to be built, and that's maybe a project-based outsourcing job, and that's maybe to somebody in India, for example.
Yeah.
I personally, I wouldn't really be too consumed with learning anything about the Indian culture or anything like that at all, because that's a one-time job. It's a very techie job. I'm not going to claim to be a techie guy. I'm certainly not. I have problems switching my iPhone on most days. So, with all that considered, it's not really needed in that regards. Now, if you're talking about hiring a full-time team member, that person's going to be part of your team, part of your business, part of your life on a day-to-day basis. You have to learn a little bit more about their culture. And here in the Philippines is like any other country in the world. There are different cultures, different mindsets and things like that. And, I found that if you can genuinely learn something about the culture here in the Philippines, the Filipinos being as loving and as caring and as trustworthy as they are, they love that. They just eat that up for lunch. They love it when particularly their foreign boss shows interest in their culture and things like that. And here in the Philippines, things like family are very important. They have a term here which is spelt as if it's hiya, H-I-Y-A. It's actually pronounced hiya. And hiya is a local term that they use for when they don't want to show any embarrassment to the person that employs them. So, a lot of the time is a little tip if anybody's working with Filipino VAs. If you don't hear back from your VA on a particular task for a certain period of time, maybe they're struggling with that task and they're too embarrassed and they don't want to lose face by coming back to you and saying, boss, please help me, I don't understand. They will Google everything for hours to try and figure that problem out on their own first before coming to you with a hand up saying, I don't understand it, boss. So these are the little cultural traits that are very, very important. And, I've talked about them at live events and things like that a number of occasions, and they don't go away. So I think with part-time or with project-based outsourcing, not so much required. With full-time team members, absolutely, you should learn a little bit about the culture of the person that you're employing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just that, sometimes you hear these stories when even some even some big corporations and companies are struggling with outsourcing, and they have these collisions between the different cultures.
Yeah.
Like the Western cultures is conflicting with another culture in a remote country, and that's why I find this to be a very interesting topic in a way, and I think that there is a great distinction, like what you said, that if it's a project-based worker, so it doesn't matter that much, but if you are hiring a full-time employee for yourself, so then it's a little bit different story then, and you should learn more about the background.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the types of tasks that virtual assistants are doing. And I know that there are different types of virtual assistants out there. But do you think that there are any typical tasks for virtual assistants that they are doing? I mean, is it
Well,
possible even to say that there are typical tasks for a VA?
yeah, no, there are typical tasks, but it obviously depends on what kind of VA they are, right? So there's, one of the big misconceptions, and it's important that we cover this on this topic. One of the big misconceptions is that people believe that there's like a super VA that can do like everything for like $2 an hour. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the real world.
Yeah.
So why the hell should it happen in the virtual world, right? So I always say if I have a leaking pipe in my house, I'm going to hire a plumber. I'm not going to get a carpenter that maybe possibly knows a little bit about plumbing. I'm going to get a plumber to come fix that thing. So, it's the same thing with VA. So, there's a handful of major VA groups. There's that general VA that will handle things like your calendar, your travel itineraries, maybe setting up your WordPress blog for you, posting your blog schedules, doing transcription, handling your social media. That's your general VA, and they're the types of tasks that kind of VA will do for you. Then there's the content writer, who is exactly what it says it is. They're creating written content for you in and out every single day. Mm-hmm. The third type of VA is a web developer, not a web designer. Yep. Big misconception here. A developer, somebody who codes a design. Some of them might know a little bit of graphic design with things like icons or buttons and things like that. But that's a that's a graphic designer. That's a whole different kit and caboodle, that is. But a web developer will build the sites, they'll code them and upload them and work with servers and FTPs and all the rest of it. So that's their type of task. Then there's that graphic designer who can also sometimes, and we've noticed it a lot recently actually, a graphic designer nowadays can also, 9 times out of 10, do a little bit of video editing as well. So if you do a little bit of online video, that's a potential as well. And then, you've got stuff like mobile app developers and things like that as well, who will just work on Android and iPhone apps. So, those are the type of tasks that those different VAs can do for you. But the most important thing is, you realize that one VA cannot do all those things, right? Oh, I missed out one group in SEO.
Yeah.
Getting, all of your sites to the top of Google. An SEO VA is not a web developer or a graphic designer. They're an SEO person. So you've got to hire for the role, for the tasks that you want completed. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Something that I also recognize is the fact that you should give enough information for your virtual assistant, meaning that giving him or her proper training before you ask him or her to do something, because it's quite obvious that if you're not providing enough documentations and you're not training him or her related to your processes, so it's not possible for that person to do his or her best work. So that's also a very important part. But it's really great that you brought out this distinctions between different types of virtual assistants, that there really isn't one super VA that can handle all, just for $2 per hour. I mean, it just doesn't exist. Also something related to different virtual assistants, and I know that this depends of the type of VA that you are hiring, but what about the salary range for different VAs. Can you give us a very brief rundown of the different salary ranges depending of what type of virtual assistant you are?
No, just like any other industry in the world, they fluctuate, from one level of experience to another, from, one person to another, even from 1 year to another.
Yeah.
And this is a question that I get asked all the time when I'm doing these kind of interviews, and there is no strict answer. When I first started doing these kind of interviews, I used to say, a general virtual assistant will cost you $400 per month on average, full time.
Yeah.
But then, if someone comes across that interview a year later, that's probably out of date. It's probably more like 450 or 500 now, right? So sure. What we did actually at Virtual Staff Finder is we created a VA salary guide, which is a PDF download document. And this is not going to turn into a picture or anything, I promise, but it was the only way to make sure that when we give out that kind of information, that it's always up to date.
Yeah.
So if any of your, any of your viewers or listeners are interested, they can go to virtualstafffinder.com and just download that guide. It's free. It's 100% free. And they can download that guide and know that we update that almost every quarter. And the one page that we update above and beyond everything else is that salary guideline page. But as of right now, which is, December 2012, general VA, full-time, 40 hours a week, about $500. And that will be somebody with a year plus experience that's good on the web and all the rest of it. Depending on the other types of roles that I've just mentioned, obviously the salaries change a little bit. But like I said, the best thing for your viewers is to head over to the site and get that guide for free, because it really does enable them to be 100% up to date with everything.
Yeah. What about bonuses? Do you pay bonuses for your virtual assistants?
Yes, absolutely. You should pay bonuses, and we also go into that a little bit in the guide as well. But bonuses are absolutely loved here in the Philippines by Filipino VAs, and they don't always need to be monetary bonuses. You can do simple things like, like for instance, my VA just had a little baby girl. I had to rethink then for a minute. She had a little baby girl a couple of months ago. So I got my PA to run out here from the office here and put together, sort of whatever it was, $50 worth of clothes or whatever. Yeah. And we shipped it over to Manila where my VA, that's huge, Timo. That kind of stuff is huge. Yeah. The odd cash bonus if they, complete a project on time. You want to throw an extra $100 to them in their paycheck, and don't tell them that you're going to do it. Just do it. And then when they say, "Oh, boss, I think you sent me a little bit more money than you could have," you say, "No, that was for the job well done on ABC project. Keep it up. I was very, very happy." They love that. They don't talk about that bonus for a week. They truly love that. So yes, absolutely give bonuses and incentives. Some of the other stuff that I've done before in the past: chocolates, flowers. What else have I done? Mouse mats, iTunes, music gift cards, you name it, a whole lot. Even bought a cell phone for one of my VAs about a year or so ago as well. They love it. They love it. They love it. You should absolutely do it.
Yeah. That's a great example of something that doesn't normally get mentioned on. For example, if you read any of these, sales letters which talk about outsourcing and they are advertising a outsourcing training, and many times this bonuses thing is not mentioned there, and it seems that it's just skipped, so that all that is being said that you can hire a VA for $2 an hour, but at the same time you just have to remember that there is actually a real human being doing your work, and you want to give him or her recognition and some bonuses, if he or she has done a great work. So I think that's a really great point what you brought out. So yeah. Now we are actually going to go to the end of this interview, but I still have one question left, and This is actually somewhat maybe related to this previous answer that you just gave us, but do you think that there are like three different important elements that you should remember when you want to have a successful, long-lasting virtual assistant relationship?
That's a great question. There's a lot of things that you can do to be a great virtual boss and to keep your VAs happy.
Yep.
But, if I had to pick two or three to wrap the conversation up on, to, without a doubt, pay your VA what you feel they are worth. If somebody says that you can get a VA for $2, they're high. You can't. No one can get a VA. I mean, who works for $2 an hour? For Christ's sake, right?
No
So,
one.
not even in the Philippines. So that's number one. Always pay your VA what you feel they're worth, and just as importantly, make sure you pay them on time, every single time as well. So, for example, here in the Philippines, the VAs like to get paid on the 15th and the 30th of every month, so every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Now, when you send money to PayPal, it will go in the account straight away. But if they're going to withdraw that money from their PayPal account into their bank account, it can sometimes take up to 2 to 3 days to hit the bank account. So if you want to be a really cool boss, you can send that salary not on the 15th and the 30th, but you can send that salary on the 12th and the 27th. Because what that will mean is they can withdraw it and then have it in their bank account so they can withdraw it on their ATM card on those two specific dates. That's huge. They love that stuff. And ultimately, the biggest tip here ultimately is just be a nice guy. I come across so many people that utilize VAs, and for some reason or another, they just turn into a complete a-hole. They micromanage them all the time. They hang off their shoulder like a virtual vulture the whole time. Just like, and that for me completely defeats the entire object of the outsourcing game. Because if you're not leveraging your time properly and creating more freedom for yourself in working with VAs, instead of hanging off the shoulder all the time, irritating them, micromanaging, looking at what they're doing all the time, you're an idiot. You're just wasting your money and your time. So just pay them on time, be a nice guy to work for, and the rest is just build up the relationship over time. It is what it is. If you do those two things, pay them on time and be a nice guy, those two things alone with Filipino VAs, they're not going nowhere. Trust me, they're not going anywhere. Do those two things and they'll be with you forever.
Oh, that's really amazing. I mean, that's great information. And hey, that was my last question, and I think that you shared your experience with us and gave us so much great information that it was really an honor to be talking with you and have you on this call. So thank you very much for being here, Chris.
No problem at all. The honor and the pleasure was all mine. It's been so nice, and for all of your your listeners and your viewers, Timo has been a big supporter of my work online for the last couple of years. So I'd like to say publicly, thank you, sir, for
thank you.
putting up with all my crap over the last couple of years.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, well, we are finishing this interview, but anyway, it was really a pleasure talking with you, Chris, and hopefully I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.
I look forward. Take care.
Yeah, bye.